morning, everybody, and welcome to the July 13th, 2021 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court, our first meeting of the new fiscal year. Always kind of a refreshing feeling to get things going again in July. Thanks for everybody for being here. We will begin, as we always do, with prayer, so if you mind joining me. Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over this body as we deliberate and do the healing. People are sins, our friends and neighbors. Please watch over them as we continue to deal with the consequences of the global pandemic. Please watch over our healthcare workers, our first responders, all of our men and women in uniform here in the nation and the world. Say these things in Christ.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Manager Southard.
Here.
Manager Moran.
Here.
Manager Putman.
Here.
Manager Berry.
Here.
Manager McCollum.
Here.
You have in front of you the minutes of the June 22nd, 2021 fiscal court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other corrections, clarifications, additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You also have the minutes of the June 29th special called meeting. Period of review. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other corrections, clarifications? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Okay, first up on our fairly small list of agenda items today is request from Randy Tassa, or suggestion from Randy Tassa, Brian Bishop, our crew, over at Planning Commission on a wrinkle in our home occupation ordinance in an agriculture district. So Randy, if you want to come up here a second, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this suggestion arose out of a recent case before BOZA, and it kind of exposed maybe a gap that you're suggesting we fill, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, we recently just went through the zoning ordinance back at the end of last year, actually most of last year, and then adopted the new ordinance end of the year. Try to think of everything to put in the zoning ordinance to try to list all occupations, businesses, and all that. It's inevitable that you're going to leave out something or forget about something, and there's a few things that we kind of missed. One of those is lawn care business, which there's a ton of them around town. Recently came up at a recent Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting where someone's wanting to operate a lawn care business, and it's not specifically mentioned in any zone, and so we have to put that in an appropriate zone and address that in the zoning ordinance.
And just to kind of augment that thought, we have a list of certain home occupations that are allowed because they do not create a big imposition on the neighborhood. They're not loud. They're not smelly. There are certain. We've had some cases in the last couple years where people did try to establish a home occupation that really wasn't appropriate. I think one person tried to, basically, in all intents and purposes, they had a trucking company operating out of their little farm, and that was not appropriate. But lawn and trimming businesses, seemingly not invasive, not obnoxious, but it wasn't spelled out in our ordinance, and a person was just such a business kind of prompted some of this thought, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then there's things that's come up since then, a little typos and different things in zoning ordinance, and just need to go through it and just make sure we got everything in there corrected, and include the lawn care and tree trimming businesses, and see if there's anything else we may have missed.
Now, I don't think we obviously don't have anything to vote on today, but we asked Randy to come on and suggest this, and with your blessing, maybe we can develop something formal to vote on. It'll take 2 readings to adjust the ordinance if you are so inclined. Got it. So any questions about this, Randy? Feel free. Fire away.
Text changes to the zoning ordinance can be originated by the Planning Commission or can be originated by the Fiscal Court and sent to the Planning Commission for a hearing.
And as you heard Kurt just say, that's our job, I guess, here today, is to encourage them to do this.
So kind of what the judge was saying, certain businesses that really don't have, do we need an ordinance for this?
Well, it mentions something in the, under home occupation that, it mentions things are specifically mentioned under that home occupation. And so because it wasn't specifically mentioned, we did have to put that in there. Or we also can make a comment, other like businesses or, occupations. And so I think that comment there can also help cover other things we may not remember to put in there or think about. So it may help cover other things that come up in the future if we put something similar to that in there.
So basically, we're just adding it to the home occupation.
Yes.
Okay.
So Randy, are you talking about just making changes with regard to these? It sounded like you had a couple comments about much wider changes. Is this,
Well, I
the
think-
process we went through, we had a pretty large committee looking at things. Are you talking about a committee process or something that you and planning commission staff are just going to redline some things?
I believe that's what the goal is the planning commission staff and I kind of go through. There was a couple of little typos we found where, things just didn't get copied over from when we kind of went through everything last year and get in there, put in, I think, just right. So we've been making notes when we come across something that's maybe a little, typo or issue that we kind of come across that I think that wasn't intended what we did last year. So we just kind of been marking things as we go along, come across it, because we knew this was going to come where eventually there's going to be something big enough to come to where we would have to come and, update it and fix some of the mistakes.
Randy, could you just kind of give me an example? If I'm a tree trimmer and I got a bucket truck at my house and I work basically out of the house, I don't have an office or anything, would that be in violation if I'm parking my equipment at my house?
What the home occupations says, is, there's not supposed to be any, I guess, I have to pull up the word, it's kind of
But
fumbling here, but
what about
basically you're not supposed to have,
lawn? Let's
if you
use
drive by there, you're not supposed to know there's a home occupation. So if you drive by and like there's a lawn care, if they have their, truck and trailer inside the thing, then, you wouldn't know it's there. And that's kind of the whole goal of the home occupation. It's not detrimental to the next door neighbors. And so tree trimmings, stuff like that, we also, talked about possibly putting it in as a permitted use in our agricultural zone. And so as a standalone, if you have a lot with no home on it, that could be a possibility as I have a, tree trimming or a lawn care business, and maybe make it a, permitted or conditional use, which I'm still on the, trying to figure out which one we want to do with that. But I think that definitely needs to be addressed in there because there's got to be a place for it. I don't think that it's maybe big enough to require it to go to, a big commercial zone like a light industrial or highway commercial, but a small business, maybe make it a conditional use so maybe the adjacent property owners get a letter notifying the meeting, and if it is something that may be out of the realm that they can address that.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
I can see a big difference in a little small, a guy's pulling his trailer and he's parking around back, or he's got a barn he puts it in, or a building or garage or whatever.
Yeah.
It's innocuous, it's no problem.
Yeah.
But I can also see the bucket truck and 3 trailers and 5 lawnmowers and all this. Would it not be better to consider doing this as a conditional use, where you
think a
have to go back on each case and let it be reviewed and let the neighbors come and talk and say, whatever, because it's, that way they can put some restrictions on what, you can do this, but you got to park it behind your house, or you got to do that. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah,
Well,
No, I
agree
like
with
that too,
Manager
Charlie.
McCollum.
It's,
Yeah, and that's, when we went through that last process, my office and I really encourage the use of conditional uses more, just for that very reason. It's sometimes hard to write something in the zoning ordinance that is specific enough to cover exactly what you mean, but not a lot of other things,
Right.
And the board of zoning can always put, any kind of conditions, limit the hours of operation or how many employees they, have or anything like that. So that is a good idea.
So I guess we need a vote on whether to ask the planning commission to undertake this. And you've heard the input about potential use of the conditional use.
Yes.
So
arrangement to-
they're going to go ahead and get something designed, bring it back to us, and take.
Yes.
I make a motion, we let them do that.
I second it, if you need the motion.
Well, we have a motion and a second to encourage planning commission to undertake this hearing and with revised language, and then come back to us. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good?
Wait, but before he leaves, can I,
Sure.
I don't know where we stand on our issue of the demolition property, the mowing, and the liens. And I just was thinking, we talked about the issue of doing the, having to pay a warning order attorney for all these errors and stuff, but there's one we did spend a ton of money out on Green River Road, number 1, there by the dump. And, you know, there was a guy that had a dump there forever,
Yeah.
and we spent thousands of dollars on that. Has that lien expired, and have we done anything, and are we gonna do anything, and are we gonna set up a procedure to take care of this?
You know, we had sit down and talked to you and I and Steve and the judge about, you know, what needs to be done. And I think Steve, you had talked about, you know, maybe if we, you know, have somebody, seeing if you can maybe get somebody from your office or what we needed to do. I don't know if, as far as who's going to be filing this stuff, as far as following up, if it can go to foreclosure. I don't know. I mean, I have a spreadsheet that keeps up with all that, but I mean, as far as the foreclosure
You know the
process-
property I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Malcolm Berry
Man and,
property,
Malcolm
yes.
Berry.
Yeah,
Man and
it's-
wife, it
it's-
would be easy to get that, the city would probably buy it, if nothing else, because it adjoins the thing. So I think it's,
Yeah, once I file the liens on it, gets recorded, and then it's good, you know, it's a mechanics lien. So
but it's a year statute of limitations, and once the year's done, we've lost our money, we spent $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on that property. I mean, it's a lot of money to be
Yeah.
wasting if we're not doing anything and not following up. I would like to see us have a plan to get this stuff done. And I'm not sure how you decide who gets their weeds mowed and whatnot. Is there not a better plan on how we can make that decision, or who makes that decision? Do you make it?
Basically goes off of complaints, yeah. I mean, when you get a complaint about a property, you know, if someone doesn't mow it, and then somebody you get in court, you know, a lot of times you just try to motivate them with, you know, sometimes a court, if you can't, if somebody lives out of town or it's an estate, a lot of times then that's when I will have it mowed and put a lien on the property.
With no forethought or afterthought of what we're going to do afterwards. Doesn't the city do something better than that, Steve?
Yes, actually, I believe the city has gone to having a code enforcement board that bypasses the judicial process, and they do civil liens, and those actually, they've had pretty good luck trying to get people to get in compliance with those, and then when they haven't, they've had liens that are significant enough to be able to take action on.
Would you recommend that?
Our office has recommended that on a couple of occasions to Mr. Chasa, and I believe in the most recent version of the ordinances, the draft redo of all the ordinances, I believe we included some language in there creating one of those. Potentially.
What do we need to get that established?
Well, we're in the middle of reviewing all the ordinances, and that'll be part of the discussion.
Well, we've been doing that for 2.5 years. I mean, what do we need to get things done? I'm just I'm frustrated. I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, we're working with Steve's office to try to get to that finish line. And he's had a couple people in his office who've helped us with that leave, and it's replaced.
We're fully staffed and ready to go and have been for a while. We shipped
Is
the
the,
draft of the ordinances out in, I believe, November up here to this floor. So I don't know what we've been waiting on from my office. If so,
Okay.
there needs to be better communication about what
Okay.
that is.
Okay.
I don't think we're the holdup here.
Okay, all right. I'll review those, and in the meantime, maybe we can review about how, once we have this panel, how it interacts with your office and how that's going to look, so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, if you recall, last year, I believe it was, just before COVID hit, we had a gentleman from a company called, I believe it was Perfection Group, address us with the proposal to review all of our systems and physical plants, buildings, and come back with any suggested changes we could make that would improve efficiency, save us money, various ways. And we gave him permission to do that and never saw him again. He did not come back. And as it turned out, his company transferred him to Atlanta. ESG is a company that a couple years, 3 or 4 years before that, had proposed, they do the same work, same sort of work. And met them recently and suggested that they wanted to know our willingness to go through this process again. And I said, sure, they have a no obligation review that they do, and we'll come back and make recommendations. And typically it's work that in its entirety would require a bid process. It costs more than $30,000 typically, and then we would put that out for bid if we chose to, and they would be one of the companies bidding on it, but their initial review is free, and they come back to us with suggestions, like I said. And I'm always interested in cost savings if we can do it fairly easily and with some logic to it. And as you know, I'm sure you know, some of the things that were done in this building within the last 5 years have really yielded significant savings, and especially the judicial center is not the case when it comes to being cost efficient. So,
I didn't see that in the paperwork that we were gonna do the judicial center.
I'll encourage them to do that as well.
Okay, and there is some software, I mean, it's sort of, that whole thing was sort of like a secret over there at the judicial center. They've got a computer or something that controls this, and I don't know who's got it, but I mean, if we're looking to change who's taking our heat and air, we need to be sure we got the information on all that equipment over there, on how to operate it and what we do, because
Yeah.
it's a mess.
So, in your packets is basically what they're calling a letter of authorization for them to begin this process, do things like acquire our utility statements so they know how much we're spending now. And ESG does work with other counties around the state and other private entities, and they're a well-known group. And just wanted to see if you all wanted to go down this road again and see what they came up with.
You agree with this? I'd
Yeah.
make a motion,
Yeah.
we do it then.
I don't have a problem with doing it, but I don't know about ESG, but some companies take their savings that they create for you as payment.
Yes, and this is their model. That is their model.
Okay, so we're not gonna pay for their suggestions and,
They gave us a couple options. We could pay up front, or we could, if we utilize them, part of their model is utilizing the savings to pay the
right,
bill.
I mean, 'cause I can come up with a lot of ideas, but that don't mean they're gonna work, but if you
Right.
press the issue with the payment of the savings, that's what.
Right. That is their model, and it does help protect us in that fashion.
Okay.
So, but when they come back and make a proposal, that'll be part of how they spell that out. And if you want any more information on ESG, I can get it to you beyond this initial letter of authorization.
I second.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Hopefully this time their representative will actually come back and see us when they're done. Yeah.
Bless you.
Bless you. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thanks. Along those same lines, over the last 6-7 months, we have had some significant issues with Shekel, who have worked for us for years, but had pretty significant turnover in personnel. And when that happened, both the quality of their service and the quality of their communication and the veracity of some of their communications have fallen off to the point where Charlie Ransom was very concerned and began to look for alternatives. And as he researched potential successors to Shekel, he also found some that would present us some cost savings. We've already budgeted the cost for this maintenance agreement on the Judicial Center with Shekel. And I asked Charlie to take as many bids as he could with companies that he trusted or thought were worthy. And he brought me the proposal from DeBrock Kimple, which you see in your packet. You should have a copy in this packet. And we have gone and terminated our contract with Shekel. We have the option of doing it as needed, trying to hire contractors as needed to fix things that happen over in the Judicial Center, but that's not a very efficient way to do it, and it can be delayed because of the current situation with materials and the way contractors schedule these days. So I suggested, Charlie, bring me the proposed agreement. You have it, the basics of it. He is very confident in this company, and these are performing the same services for us at the Judicial Center that Shekel was. And what I'm asking to consider today is the one-year agreement listed here for $26,488. That's a savings of $3,000 from our contract with Shekel. And because I explained to Charlie, and I think I'm right in saying this, we cannot contract beyond the term of the current fiscal court. So I had them, because this 1 year will take us to the middle of next year, I asked how much they would charge us to go ahead and then extend it 6 months if we wanted to get us to the end of the calendar year, which would be the end of the terms of the current court. They quoted us there. It's basically half of what the 1 year cost would be. And then the court, at that point, would decide whether to extend their contract with this company. We can end the contract whenever we want to, with, I think, a 90-day or 60-day notification, similar with the Shekel contract. So I believe it is good to contract these services. It provides a little bit more certainty of service. And if we're going to save $3,000 with a qualified company that will do better for us than Shekel was doing here recently, then I would recommend this. Charlie Ransom recommends this. And again, not having to do it piecemeal every time something breaks makes his life a lot easier. So instead of calling around and figuring out who can do it, he knows who's going to help him. So.
Make a motion to approve.
I would say, Judge, on what they've asked you to sign here, I did not see the 90-day cancellation on there. Is that something they said, or is it? Oh, there's more.
There's a 30-page packet. This is the basic offer.
Okay.
Do we need to let Steve review it then?
He can have it. It is very similar to, if not exactly like Shekel, same exit. You can have it and look at it.
I'm here to serve the fiscal court. If you all want me to review the contracts that you spend public money on, I'd be glad to.
Well, be happy to.
Could you add that to the motion upon approval?
Well, no, I mean, do we need to wait for him to review it before we do something? I don't.
I guess we can make a motion pending his,
Approval.
approve it pending his communication with me on approval.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Okay, that's fine. Any other questions? Thank you, Steve.
Did we put this, or do we just call certain companies? How do we go about getting these bids or this bid?
Charlie calls companies in the regions that can respond to us. This is a company from has operations in Evansville, I believe, and he wants two things: that they can do the work and that they'll respond quickly. So he has scanned the region and identified this company as the best.
Was your
best property.
question why we didn't bid it out because it exceeds 30,000?
Yes.
Is that what you was asking?
Yes.
Well, it doesn't exceed. We're agreeing to the 1 year agreement, which is $26,488. That 39,000 just in case is the total in case we re-up with them for the 6 months next summer, which we don't have to.
Okay.
But you're going to.
Well, we'll see how they do, I would say.
Yeah, we may not, so it's,
Yeah.
do you think we should have bid it? And I'm asking, I'm not saying,
Well, I trust Charlie's judgment on these. He's the one that deals with them directly every day, whoever we contract with. We have various contracts, and he again saved $3,000. He's very good at penny pinching when he can be. I trust him. If you want me to instruct him to bid this out again, I'll be happy to. I'm not sure we'll reach a different conclusion, but we can.
I would feel better about bidding,
Okay.
putting it out for bids. I mean, we're not at 30,000, but we're really close. So
Okay.
I would feel better about putting it out for a bid, and then we don't have to take the bottom bid, right?
No.
Well, you could look at the lowest and best, and if somebody's
Right.
closer and can get to you faster, you could
Right.
look at that. Do we want to table that then?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion, we table this.
Okay.
Second.
Good deal. I will let Charlie know. We'll try to get that cranking as quickly as possible.
What I was talking about, I think, and we may not have done this, and I hope this energy system group will look at the computer. If I'm remembering service, I think we had an opportunity to upgrade the software on the computer, and I don't think we spent the money on it. I mean, that building is so expensive to operate. There's a lot of, it was just sort of designed strange, and And,
It has been updated because it got stripped of light.
oh, okay. But, I mean, did they just
That'll take care of
replace
it.
it, or did they put the same thing back, or did they upgrade it?
They replaced it, and we tried to do the energy efficiency, but it came to cover during the day. So we can't use it because it never,
It's crazy. I mean, the whole system is not designed right. And then in the wintertime, we have to keep the cooling system going 24/7. And it's a giant, I mean, to me, I mean, I'm not an engineer. They ought to have a small cooling unit they could use during the wintertime so they don't have to have that monster going. I mean, there's just a lot of things to me that seem like they could do to save money and make that thing operate more efficiently. So I'm hoping that that energy system group will come back with that. And maybe this, whoever we get to operate it, maybe we ought to have them come, hey, what do we need? Or something's just wrong with that building when it costs as much. I know we're not paying for it. I mean,
Yet.
yet, that's the magic word.
Yeah.
Currently, there are fans in the courtrooms going to try to cool them down.
Well, I mean, I slipped and ended up with a detached retina when the water it was actually raining from the ceiling. I mean, it in the terrazzo floor, and the bailiffs just thought it was great to watch the film of me. I mean, my feet went above my head, and it was sort of comical if you weren't the one getting hurt.
ESG, like I said, they will plan to bid on whatever they recommend as well. So their team includes engineers, and I'm sure they'll be interested in those facts.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I will ask Charlie to go ahead and gather up bids.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask him to try to have this ready for next meeting, because in summertime, this is, do the best we can. This is summertime HVAC issues with that building, so. Next item is spay and neuter grant. Humane Society let us know late last week that they were interested in going for this $3,000 spay and neuter grant. They had done it a couple years ago. Technically, the county has to apply for it. It's a complete flow-through. There's a match, $3,000 match that the Humane Society is going to pay for, and they just need our permission to be the conduit for this application.
Since that is one of the biggest problems we've got with all these feral animals, I'd make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Motion and a second. Any other questions about that? Again, flow-through for us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, have Mr. Hubiak come up. We got a bid opening for work on Spotsville Bluff City.
Do we need to read the resolution?
Do we need to read?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Do that real quick. Just read the summary if you want, if that's okay. Pretty simple.
Is the court good with just summary?
Yeah.
Yep.
Resolution authorizing submission and acceptance of Kentucky Department of Agricultural Animal Control Advisory Board Spay-Neuter Kentucky Program application for matching grant funds in the amount of $3,000 and authorizing the county judge executive to execute any documents on behalf of Henderson County.
Get a motion.
Move to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill?
Good catch.
Okay, the bid opening today is for the repair of the slide on Spotsville Bluff City Road. This is a FEMA project due to the flooding and slide along Lick Creek. This has been an ongoing problem for several years, and it has progressed even more. So I have 3 bids today. The bid is for the project to be railroad rail driven down, and then used guardrail used as the cribbing to hold the embankment back as we backfill it and slope and stabilize the road surface. And then the road will be re-blacktopped where it's been cut out and slipped and fell. Is there any questions on what we're looking at?
So you're taking the railroad rail down to the bedrock?
No, not the bedrock. According to FEMA, we're gonna go down about 23 feet on a 33-foot rail, have 10 foot above it, and that should be enough to stabilize the bank from slipping. The rail will be on 4-foot centers, and the guardrail will then be tied to the rail all the way across. And it'll be kind of like in a semicircle around the slippage area. Any other questions? This has been done before out on Tillman Bethel several years ago, where we had after torrential rains, it broke the dam on a farm pond and washed out the road. So it's a proven method of slope stabilization, and hopefully this will correct the problem. So, anyway. All right, so the first bid I got is from Bowling Construction here in Henderson County. Their bid is for $135,448, and also I asked them to bid separately a cost per triaxle with the driver in case we need to have people help with the backfill material. Okay, and it's at $85 an hour. They did not give me 7 copies, so I will make copies after, get them all open, get them to y'all. The next bid is from AA Services, and there is to $86,450, and they neglected to put the price for the triaxle. And the third bid is from Raggle over in Newburgh, Indiana. And theirs is for $150,000 on theirs.
Bill, who's furnishing the materials?
They are.
'Cause that's
The only
part-
material the road department is furnishing is backfill. They're supposed to supply the rail and the used guardrail, drive the rail, do all the thing. They have to haul out the vegetative debris from the site to get their bench done, and that material is to be hauled to Sandy Lee Watkins Park, where we have a disposal area. The stabilization material that is already there that has to be removed from them, the bench, will also be hauled to Sandy Lee Watkins Park.
Then you can
We
do-
tried to keep the cost of this down as much as possible because the project grew bigger with the past flooding of the last 2 years, and the fact that the price of used metal right now has just gone through the roof.
Do you need to review this, or do you want us to make a decision?
what?
Do you need to review this to?
Yes, I need to review this and come back with this because obviously AA is the lowest bidder, but I want to get the triaxle price in there also. And we'll come back next fiscal court and do it, if that's okay.
I'd make a motion to let him come back next meeting. Is that okay? Bill, next
Yep.
meeting?
Yeah, I don't know if we need to vote, just we'll expect
that's fine, whatever y'all wanna do.
recommendation, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay?
They're gonna do it this summer, right?
Do what?
They're gonna do it this summer, right?
we hope.
I mean, they're gonna start on it this summer or get that done?
It's gonna get done this fall before blacktopping.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, we want to get this road done and put this project to bed, so,
Yeah.
anyway. Any other questions?
No.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, Treasurer Ryder, any claims?
I do have claims from the general fund to Henderson County Tourist Commission, $500.72. This is the hotel tax pass-through and is to come from that appropriation line. To Visa in the amount of $760.94. The majority of this is for judge and staff training and travel and is to come from that appropriation line. Magistrate Southern and Magistrate Berry, each in the amount of $3,279.72. This is for the 2021 training incentive and is to be paid with the 7/22/21 payroll and is to come from the Magistrate's Training Incentive Appropriation line. To Ed Brady in the amount of $4,372.96. This is for the 2021 training incentive to be paid with the 7/22/21 payroll and is to come from the Sheriff's Training incentive appropriation line. From the jail fund to Advanced Document Solutions in the amount of $1,377.15. This is for copier leases and is to come from the data processing equipment appropriation line. To U.S. Bank, which is the credit card, in the amount of $7,320.92. The majority of this is from building repairs and maintenance, staff training and travel, and furniture and fixtures appropriation lines. To Jailer Brady in the amount of $4,372.96. This is for the 2021 training incentive and is to come from the Jailer's Training Incentive appropriation line and is to be paid with the July 22nd, 2021 payroll. That's all the claims.
I move to pay the claims, Judge.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and I do want to give a heads up on a couple things, and if you don't mind hanging out just a second. You know, at the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, we give Brenda the permission to clean up all the line items that may need cleaning up depending on some final invoices that come in right after our last meeting. And typically those are small. We had a couple big ones come in, and I wanted to just make you aware of this. These are easily payable. It's not a problem, but I wanted to make you aware. We had one that came in for $10,440, and this was for work out at Sandy Lee that was actually approved back in January, but then the invoice just showed up right as we were wrapping up the fiscal year. I just want to let you know that happened, and I guess the company didn't quite get the whole thing done, Bill, before the end of June there.
Basically, we can blame it on COVID because the parts for sleeving the inside the pipe that was laid underneath the road, bored under, this was a bore and sleeve job to get the water to the other side of the road. The parts were extremely difficult to be delivered. And we were working with Henderson County Water. Pete ordered the parts, and they did not come in, and they came in wrong, and we had a struggle, and this has been ongoing. The actual boring and the sleeving was done in February, and we didn't get the parts in and finish it up until this last month.
Yeah.
So,
Just want to give you a heads up on that. It's paid. We're paying it, but I wanted to let you know. And then one came in from the jail for $15,630 for significant electrical work that was done in the kitchen. And you want to look at that invoice. It came in right on 6/25, June 25th.
To follow up with that, these invoices will be paid in July's claims, but they have to be encumbered in the previous fiscal year, which just ended June 30th. And in doing that, it's an accounting thing, if you will. In doing that, that has put a couple of these appropriation lines in the negative, and I cannot close the books with the negative. There are appropriations to take care of this.
Transfers.
But
Yeah.
I will have to transfer.
Do we need to take any action to approve any of this or do anything? Are we okay?
We already did technically. This is atypical of what happens at the end of the year. I just wanted to make
Yes.
everybody aware of it. And
Usually it's more or less your general monthly expenses, and these are a little bit abnormal.
yeah.
So we'll go ahead and do that and then make the transfers later, and we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's already in the process of doing that. and
I'll make the
reporting everything.
transfers for the
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
fiscal year that just ended, but then
Yeah.
we will pay the invoices in the new year.
Okay.
Okay.
So these are going to go against the new budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Do you understand that, Bill?
say it again.
The 10,000 is going to come out of this new budget, not last year's budget. Yeah, okay. All righty, thank you very much. Any other questions of Brenda? Okay. Okay, anything else for good of the county? Any of our audience members? Master Southard, I know it's been rainy, which is good for you, but horrible for weddings over the weekend, I'll tell you that.
I've heard that. Really, all's good. They've been working on the roads to cutting the curbs back and getting the water away from them. Mowing seems to be an issue everywhere. We're Keith and I have talked, and we'd like to maybe look into subbing our mowing out. Bill's gonna get some numbers for us. He's working on that for us, so hopefully we can get something together. And it may not work, but we need to look at it for sure.
And it may not be possible to do it this summer, but,
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever get it done that fast,
Yeah.
but looking
Yeah.
at it for the future.
we've talked about that for a couple of years now, and it may be time to do that, really. Yeah.
So, but I know they're doing all they can do, so I appreciate it, and all's good in District 3.
Thank you. Master Moran?
I'm kind of the same way. That's one of the main calls I've had is mowing. But yes, I always thank Bill for all his help when I call him. He always is so kind. But all is well in District 2.
Thank you. Master Putman?
Thank you, Judge. All's good in the fourth.
That was the quickest one you've given quite some time. Master McCall?
I can come up with something.
I sometimes have maybe my better thinking when I'm taking a shower, maybe not, I don't know. This is sort of like the ordinance haven't been completed. Evidently, Steve had made a recommendation. I never heard about it. We've talked about the consent agenda, and the judge sent us paperwork on the consent agenda, and it's sort of died. Purchase orders, we sort of died.
That's not true. We have a purchase order system.
It's a system, but I don't know that it's really, a lot of the stuff I believe is done after the fact.
No.
Okay, well, I'd like to discuss that at some point in time to see how it works, because I don't know, okay? So, I mean, these things are things that, so my thinking is, and this may have to be done through the administrative code, which is something we sort of put on the back burner to a degree. Why could we not have on the agenda, old business? And if the court voted to put something on old business, it doesn't get taken off until the court votes to take it off. And then during the meeting, the judge could say, does anybody have anything in old business that we need to discuss today? And maybe we don't, but at least we don't forget about it. And then there'll be this long list of items that I want to get these things off our checklist, or you've got a checklist. I mean, sort of using the agenda as a checklist to get stuff, and it's not forgotten about. Does that make any sense at all? And I don't know if that would have to be done in the administrative code or how we'd have to do that, Steve. But I'm just something I'd like to throw out there.
Those
I
are
don't
all things
disagree.
that can be done through the ordinance or the administrative code.
I just see things getting sort of dropped, and we don't go back to them. And I don't know where we stand on the consent agenda. I mean, I'd like to get that done. I think that was a great way of doing the planning and zoning, so we documented that it was on our consent agenda. We don't take any action, so we don't say anything that's going to mess up the planning and zoning people, that it's there. And it's, then if somebody, are you doing your job? Did you all review it? Did you understand it? Yeah, it was on that agenda, and it was approved. We let it go into effect by operational law because we didn't take any action on it. And just so we can explain what we're doing to the public if somebody asks us how we're doing our job. And that could sort of speed up our process here. You've got the minutes would be on there, and if nobody had, the judge would just basically, and as he gave us that document on how it works, does anybody want to take anything off the consent agenda? And all of the magistrates would have the right to do that if any one of them wanted to do it, because basically right this minute, all 6 of us are equal. Now, the minute we finish in adjourned court, the judge is our administrator and our executive, and he's the one that's supposed to make sure we get everything done. So that's sort of my thinking. I don't know if we can get that back on the table or get it back on the agenda or get something going. I don't know.
Let me review that. I don't have a issue with the consent agenda. Hasn't necessarily been an issue except for this planning commission stuff, and we've handled it kind of in a way since then. But I'll start by saying, can we schedule the first ordinance review workshop, and making that Monday, July 26th, 2 o'clock, begin the process?
I think that's a good start.
Say that again, what time?
July 26th, which is a Monday, 2 o'clock. We'll do it here in the fiscal room. We'll begin to plow through the ordinances. We have reviewed these. Steve's come back with recommendations.
Okay.
Double check where it stood, but I think if we're ready to go, we're ready to go. Let's just schedule it.
It is. COVID has just knocked the heck out of a lot of this stuff. I mean, with the COVID going on, it's just made our lives, I like being here with everybody, and then rather than being on the Zoom call, and that's so. But
Judge, is that the whole court? Because
Yes.
I got a conflict. I got an appointment at 1:30 I got to be at.
How about 3 o'clock?
I should
And
be done.
this will be the first of many meetings. It may take 6 months to wade through it all, but we might as well get started.
Yeah, because I'm at 1:30, so it's in Evansville, so I could, that would be
3
better.
o'clock?
3 o'clock would be
Okay.
better for me.
and it'll be taped, won't it?
It'll be a workshop, yeah.
So you could go back and look at the first part if there was any questions about any of it anyway. There'll be audio. Oh, okay, audio.
And the way the city did this is they would take pieces, come to an agreement, vote on it as soon as possible, and then go tackle the next piece. And that's how they did it. We don't have to do it. We can wait till we're completely done, but it'll be up, we'll discuss that at a workshop if you want to.
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock on the 26th, and we'll try to make regular meetings after that.
That's Steve's bad day, isn't it?
I won't be able to be present on the 26th, but somebody from our office will be.
Okay. All right.
Good.
And I'll have to go back and dig out the email on the consent agenda.
Monday.
I offered the options. I'll find it, send it back out again. We can discuss it at the next fiscal court meeting.
I've got it with me if you want me to make a copy of it.
If you want to, go for it.
I'll give it to Kurt.
Okay.
I can go with
It basically just delineate what it is and what the options are. Anything else, Master McCollum?
No, I think that's a good start. Thank you.
Master Berry?
Thank you, Judge. I don't have much, but Tim and I had talked about the mowing and Beth and that thing. The mowing, I think that's real important. As I was driving, looking at Blacktop, there's the weeds and grass are causing some dangerous spots, especially in the curves, the sight distance you can't see. And I think that's something we need to address. And thank you, Bill, for checking into that, and he's going to. And also thank Bill for saving my life out at Bluff City, that road out there that's falling in. I've had a lot of calls about that, so that's why I asked if we were going to get that done this summer. Hopefully we will, because that is a bad spot. You've seen it, I'm sure, Judge. It's just something that has to be fixed, and I appreciate that, Bill, for getting those bids, getting that done. So other than that, I think everything's good.
Thank you. Mr. Gold?
Things are good in the county attorney's office. Want to congratulate the Fair Board on their rodeo. That was quite a great time, and my goodness, there were so many people there. It was fantastic and a heck of a good time. So, and they actually made money, which is a nice thing to be happening out there. Also praying for Magistrate Berry and his family as they're going through a tough time. So, really, heart goes out. But other than that, things are good in the county attorney's office. We're at the meeting of elected officials and department heads last week. There were the judge asked for the 3 projects that each department was working on and wanted to make sure got done. And the number one that I mentioned was this ordinance codification process. Not only do the ordinance need to be reviewed, but we recodify them every 10 years or so, and that's where we are. It's time to do that, and that involves refreshing not just the ordinances, but also making sure that what's online is reflective of what we're actually doing rather than, all the different amendments. And Kurt's done a really good job at trying to get them to add those in over time. So it shouldn't be a huge process, that recodification, but it is due, and something that we really need to get done before the end of this term.
Thank you, Steve. What time did you all get finished last night?
With court? Actually, last night, there were a lot of people gave up and got off, so I think they actually ended around 7. We thought it was going to be another midnight, but.
I had a meeting with Steve, and he was having to do court at the same time. It's an interesting process over there.
We're ready for live court to begin. July 26th is actually supposed to be the first in-person date for traffic court, but the judge also has a lot of Zoom court on that date, so it's going to be both things happening at once. So goodness knows how long that one's going to go. We're thinking about bringing in cots.
Thanks, Steve. Did want to wish everybody a happy 4th. Hope that weekend was fun. I did go to the rodeo. It was great. So congratulations to them. I know the Fair Board, which is all volunteer, was very pleased with the way the whole thing went, and really thanked our road department and parks department for the help they give them in preparing for that. It's a great community event. We will, I'm looking forward to getting the ordinance done. I kind of keep a list of goals, 1 year and 4 year, and the ordinance and the administrative code have been on there, and want to make sure we get that done within the next year and a half. Get it done by this term at the latest. So I've been thinking about that, and again, glad to be started off on another year. We wrapped up the fiscal year in great shape. We are going to be reviewing with the Finance Committee some initial recommendations on how we spend our first tranche of ARPA money. Had some initial discussions on that during the Finance Committee meeting that's coming up. We might nail down on a couple ways to start, but there's no huge rush. We got to be careful, and there's a couple things we hope happen in the future, including an option on broadband that we might be able to help with that money. So, and we will be getting the second half next June. So there's always considerations that, we're going to be getting another chunk of money as we consider how to spend it. So that is all I've got. We can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.